Welcome to the demo of Sprint 16 for the object preservation work. Today we are going to tell you about what we've been doing these last few weeks. I'm scrolling down on the steps to production checklist to the spot where all the milestones are done above this line, and I'm showing you that we're in progress on the checksum validation work. You'll note that we've done a great deal of this work, and the main thing that has not happened yet is the performance requirements have been not met. And let me tell you a little more about that. So we've been running the checksum validation. We ran it on the stage box against production data on storage route 10, which has approximately 53,000 objects on it. That took 5 days. And then we deployed it to the production VM and started running it. And that has 132,000 objects. And this took 14 days. We're currently running it on route 3 on production. Here's the log showing you what's going on, and you're seeing us stepping through the objects. This has been running for many days now, and you can see we're at the queues in the Druid list, which will be gone through alphabetically. So this is taking a long time. We're also discovering some errors as we go, particularly on storage route 2. So here is the production workflow error report for running checksum validation in production. We had the 1,200 errors came up, and all of the errors look like this. They have a file, version metadata XML, that was not in the signature catalog file. And just for giggles, I'm going to show you the page for the last of these, and they all look the same. These errors are coming from objects that were manually brought over onto storage route 2. They're old ETD objects, and they were originally stored as bags, and this was an attempt to turn them into MOABs, but it was done not quite correctly some years ago. And as it happens, the easiest thing to do with these will be to remediate the data rather than change the code during the checksum validation, because the code is actually correctly finding a problem. So that's the plan of what to do with these. As far as performance goes, we also have a plan to, right now, the way the checksum validation is working, we are using code that pre-existed in the MOAB versioning gem. That code was set up in a hard-coded way to default to using 3 checksums. And for our work at this point, we are only needing to use the MD5 checksum. And given how long it takes each object to get checked, we believe that this will reduce the time taken per object by approximately 1/3 of the current time. So that will let us process through all of these much quicker. The work that's being done will be putting the possibility of specifying which checksum or checksums you would like to use for this validation. Coming back to our checklist here, the other things that we have been working on, number two big thing we've been working on are ingest robots, and we've made a lot of progress with those. We have new robot work that we're doing to try to get the ingest robots to update the preservation catalog to know about when a new version is created or a new MOAB is created. But we're also porting over all of the old ingest robot code that was actually functioning in order to just have a code base that will be a lot easier to maintain over time. So let's talk a little bit about these robots. So we wrote some code, and then we got our new robot VM set up, thanks to Tony. And then we started trying to get things working. And there were many, many interesting problems as we went along. What I'm showing you is the rescue data that has been put out by not only rescue, but we have some custom code in our robot master code base so that you can see things here. So this was one of the first errors that we had to resolve, which is when we set up the robots to run, we got this uninitialized constant robot. So what that was about was that it mattered that the class being used matched the workflow. So that was changed. Then we discovered that this workflow service log didn't exist, and that had something to do with how our Capistrano config was set up. So we fixed that, and then we fixed it again because we didn't quite get it right. And then we have robots working, but because these two robots are not written, unsurprisingly, rescue is a little confused when it looks to find them. So what am I talking about with all of this stuff? Well, there is a workflow object that exists, and I think that will not get us there. I did not preload that, sorry, but these are the steps in the workflow. And if you look at what this is showing here, it's showing that it actually has run objects through this. And I can tell you this is a sort of no-op step. This is a step that we have written that is actually runnable. This step has also been written and is runnable. Similarly, this step and the update MOAB step. This is a step that's in progress, and this is a step that's in progress. And that is visible here in the to production checklist. This is what it looks like when it's actually running here in the rescue UI. I won't go into why we can see this right now, but suffice it to say, it's a good thing, and it needs to be more of a good thing. So with some help from Lynn, we were able to determine how to use Argo to trigger the robots and get things set up. So you can see here that this particular object, we made some new versions specifically to run the preservation workflow through its paces. And if we look at this particular workflow, we'll see that certain steps we had to attempt many times as we're working the kinks out. This is a similar object where we have some new versions that we set up, and similarly, there's been more than one attempt in some cases, and we're working the kinks out. Now, what you're seeing here is this workflow for the most recent version. When we were finally getting things working, it was amusing to note that in one case, the object, we had 35 tries to get our transfer object robot to work. In another one, it was 38 tries. So that was entertaining, so to speak. But we are well on the way to having these robots functional and ready to go. And you can see there's still some work left in hooking it all up so it starts automatically, getting these other two robots written, and just all of the things that you discover you need to do when you deploy to production. But excellent progress there. As far as the third thing I'm going to talk about today, we haven't got it as tidily put out in this document, but we have been working on what our product owner has referred to as the really resilient replicator. So this is getting a viable way to do replication of our objects to some sort of archival storage, which will be in the cloud and geographically diverse. And this has sort of been simplified down beyond the point where we want it, but just so we can get replication working while we're still together on this team, and then it will be revisited later. So we've had a few sessions talking through things, but the main thing we have to show for this particular demo is that we had a really useful whiteboarding session on this past Monday, and we have an archive API came out of that, and this spaghetti-looking whiteboard, which continues in this second image, shows a fairly involved set of tasks that will become GitHub issues, and then we still have many open questions, and where we sort of ended that whiteboard session was trying to figure out, given that archive API, where is the API line between the code in the preservation catalog and that API, and whatever will become the replication service. So this is all a little muzzy, which is probably making it even harder to follow for you at home. But suffice it to say, we are getting in gear to do the replication service. I think that will end our demo for today. Thank you for watching, and tune in for our next one.